Continuing on still with the tracking series. We're going to cover lost spore procedures now. That's how to, get back on track should you have lost it or whatever the case may be. Again, classroom setting for this video. I'll try to get out in the field with this one and try to show you, how it looks outside as far as moving around, when time permits. But just some more reading, some more, whiteboard, try to show you guys, some of this lost spore procedure stuff. So I'll just start off right away. I'll read the introduction to you guys. Anyone can follow a set of tracks along a beach, in the snow, or along the bank of a muddy pond. However, it takes a competent tracker to relocate the spore when it is lost and can no longer be seen. And I showed you guys some things on the practical application, 2 videos that I've shot prior to this. It's a multitude of different things that you have to look for, to get yourself back on track. It's not always going to be easy. So the ground changes constantly, and even skilled trackers will oftentimes lose the spore. Losing the spore, however, is accepted as part of the tracking team. The difference between a skilled tracker and a novice tracker is the ability to relocate lost tracks. So again, anybody can get out there in the snow, follow a nice set of tracks or in some sand or mud, but you start getting into, hard surfaces, rocky areas, grass, stuff like that, where it doesn't actually leave a print. It's not so easy anymore. But there is tips and techniques to go about that make it easier on you. So, alright, lost spore procedures are broken down into 4 groups. It's a quick scan, the tracker's lost spore procedures, what that actual tracker will do for him or herself. There's team lost spore procedures on how to do it as a team, and then there's an informal set of lost spore procedures as well. We'll touch on them right now. Right. The quick scan, as soon as the tracker no longer sees spore, he stops and begins to systematically scan his immediate area for spore. Again, now you're starting to look at likely lines and things like that. The scan is a fan shape and must include the area behind the tracker to account for possible direction changes in the track line. Right, if the tracker cannot relocate the spore after the quick scan has been completed, he immediately raises his hand, and gives some type of signal to the team leader, so the team leader knows, hey, we're not on track anymore and we need to do something about it. The team leader quickly moves forward to the tracker and indicates the last known spore. The team leader stands at the last known spore, as that point becomes the center pivot point of any of the lost spore procedures that follow that, be it the tracker, the team, or any informal ones that you're going to do. So lost spore procedure number 1 is likely lines. And again, that's just, you should have a direction of travel, and it doesn't need to be, an azimuth, just a general cardinal direction of movement. Okay, so we're heading in an easterly direction. You're going to stop if you don't see any more spore in the area, and you're going to start, scanning likely lines. Alright, if it was me, what way would I have gone from here? And usually that'll put you back on track quick, because again, if it's a human that's being tracked, we're lazy, unless you have, someone that's experienced in tracking and employs counter-tracking or anti-tracking against you. They're probably going to take the easy route more often than not. The second lost spore procedure is the tracker 360, and all that is, we'll just use the Y formation for instance. So here's our tracker here. He's lost spore, he's going to stop, he's going to scan in a fan shape for any spore in his immediate area that he may have missed. then he's going to scan for any likely lines in the direction of travel that that team was moving on. And again, he also has to consider his backside. So he's going to just put his arms behind him in a Y, and he wants to look along his arms. So the same thing that he scanned out in the front, he wants to do towards the rear, just in case there was a direction change. That's the quick scan. After that, he's going to do a 360. Go about that is he's going to take one route out and one route back in. So the same exit and entry point he wants to use to reduce contaminate in any spore that might be out there. So whatever way the tracker chooses, it doesn't really matter. But if he wanted to exit on the right, and then he's going to go around that whole team in a 360 looking for spore. And as he gets all the way back around, like I said, he's going to go back in on the same point to reduce the contamination of you know, spore. So that's the tracker 360. The next one is lost spore procedure number 3 is flank 360. And it's pretty much the same idea, except that it's your flanks doing it and not the tracker. So that'd go, your two flanks would go in a 360 in opposite directions. So if your left went around to the right first, back to where he started, your right flank would just do the opposite without crossing lines is the biggest key on that. So if the left one went on the outside, the one on the right wants to stay on the inside and do the same thing without crossing paths, because again, now you just, by doing that, the tracking team's actually, you know, laying spore on the ground, and you want to reduce that as much as possible, obviously. So you don't want to cross lines and confuse each other and think, hey, you know, I'm back on track over here, when actually it was just the other flanker that you crossed. So that was number 3. The box search. I get simple technique. Simple technique, if you're in the Y formation, you can have your flanks do it. You could have one flank and the rear guy do it. It really doesn't make a difference. It does if it's, you know, military or law enforcement related, and there's a possibility of, you know, somebody out there trying to cause harm. But for all intents and purposes, you know, search and rescue or animal tracking or whatever, it's the same principle as the 360, the flank 360, except it's a box. So again, the right would come out, go to the left, do his thing, and the flanker on the left would do the same thing again without crossing tracks. So pretty simple there, I think. And the last one is the flanker crossover. Pretty much the same thing. They're just, all they're doing is looking for spore out in front of them. So all they would do is rotate in the front. You know, one would go to one side, one to the other. Again, without crossing tracks though. So this one might come up a little bit and then rotate over here. And then this one would just come over here. He crossed right there. I mean, he could come, you know, kind of behind him. But this flank tracker, obviously he's been walking this way anyway. So, you know, one of them or the other is going to end up crossing the tracks, but you try to minimize that as much as possible, like I said. So that's just a flank crossover. They just switch sides is all it is, and all they're doing is looking for any spoor up here in the direction that they were headed. So we had tracker lost spoor procedures. What that entailed was the actual tracker stopping, looking at likely lines. That was the first one. The second one was the tracker 360, where the tracker himself did his 360. These next three were all team lost spoor procedures. So we had the flanker 360s, where they both did it, the box search, and now the flanker crossover. Now, informal, or also known as shortcut lost spoor procedures, I'll just read them off to you. I don't really need to draw these ones. But all that is the track trap search. Actually, I'll draw this one just so you can see it a little better. So if all this, we're walking through some vegetation, you know, the tracking team, and we've lost spoor here, and we just can't seem to find it. You know, we could break out our map and see that, hey, just up ahead of us, you know, is a logging road, a dirt road, whatever the case may be. Anything that's a good track trap. I discussed that with you guys on a past video on what that is. So we're just lost here. We can't find spoor anymore. A good technique for, you know, cutting down that time distance gap and making things, you know, go a little bit quicker is pushing up to this dirt road that you know is there because you have your map, and it's a track trap. So you're going to push up to there. After you've marked your last known spoor, you're going to push up and just walk the edge of this road to see if you can pick up, you know, and get back on track line. So that's one of them. Another way, if it's urban area, you know, alleyway scans and stuff like that. Observable track traps. Like I said, I just used the road, but if you had other ones in here, maybe like a little sand pit or something like that that you've come across, you definitely want to look at stuff like that. So that's it as far as the informal ones go. Just things to think about, you know, what's in your surrounding area that can help you, make it easier for you, and also, you know, the most important thing is what's going to cut down that time distance gap for you. So if you have things like this around, and you can discern that, you know, by looking at your map or whatever the case may be, it'll make it a lot quicker than, you know, trying to do micro tracking back here in all the thick vegetation. Alright, so just wanted to throw that out there. Lost spoor procedures. Again, I'm going to try to get out, you know, when I can, when time permits, and try to show some of these different things actually out in the field, so I ain't boring you guys to death with all this classroom stuff. But like I said, I think it's just as important. I don't want to leave anything out. You know, doing a series, I want you guys to get all the information that I got. Obviously, I can't share the military stuff with you, but as much as possible that deals with the tracking, I want to get that information out to you guys. So, yeah, hopefully have a good grasp on it. So, first thing we'll go over is dynamics of the footprint. Remember, the primary impact point, foot roll, terminal point. So I'm just going to walk regular, like somebody would normally walk through this. You guys can come around the side and we'll talk about what we're looking at and stuff.
From the outside?
Yeah. Primary impact point, obviously I'm walking in a forward direction, so my hair would be the first thing hitting. What you're seeing here is just drag marks because it's snow. If it was sand, you probably wouldn't see that unless the person's like dragging their feet. So that's the only reason you see that. That could almost be mistaken for a heel drag, except the heaviest part of my foot is going to be in the front where I'm pushing off out of the snow to take that next step. And that's the case in the snow. But
So that's a toe drag in the back.
that kind of looks like a heel drag, like somebody is walking backwards, but it's not. You can see the toe drag in the front as well. You know what I mean? This is just from taking that next step, and obviously it's because it's snow here. If it was dirt or regular ground, you wouldn't have that. So my primary impact point, you can't really see it good on some of these because you got that drag coming into it, but it's roughly about here. The indicators that we talked about, you know, stride and stuff like that. After you got your measurements of the foot, again, my tracking stick, I'd go from the heel to the front of the foot. Alright, so we're at roughly 12 and a half, and again, it's obviously footwear. I don't have a size 12 and a half foot, as the case may be. But you can check those. Get your stride. Like I was saying too, now when you get into different mediums, obviously snow, way too easy to track somebody, you know what I mean? But you get into like grass and, you know, hard packed dirt, even rocks, and you can actually track through rocks. If it's like all stones, you can track somebody through that. You just gotta know what you're looking for. So now I'll step back and I'm just gonna jog through the middle here. We'll take a look at that and see how it looks different from just a regular walk, if I don't fall on my face. That's different. Stride, alright, that's obviously different.
Minimal drag.
Minimal drag.
Deeper impressions.
Yep. A lot more pressure, right? Anything else?
Your feet pattern are like closer together.
Yep.
They're not as far apart.
So your straddle changed, right?
Your roll changed as well.
My what?
Your roll in the middle.
Foot roll?
Yep. Your foot roll changed.
Why do you think that is? Alright, what do you got?
Took almost half as many steps. Took 10 instead of 19. Your toe is buried.
Buried.
Still even deeper.
Right. All the same things you guys
Just
just
more
said,
pronounced.
just a little more, right? More so on the ball of my feet now. Alright, so my foot's almost angled.
Right, your heel's sticking up a lot higher.
Yeah. Are we getting straighter in line, possibly? Footprints almost straight in line.
Yeah, because it almost seems like the angle of the snow didn't change the angle of your foot as much. Because you really came down with so much force. Well, that one, I got on a little bit, but sit on there, sticking toes and stuff.
Everybody tracking on that? Alright, so I'm going to divide you guys into teams. Pretty much we just covered, you know, dynamics of a footprint. We looked at a couple different things as far as the indicators went. So I'll split you guys up. This first box over here, I'll have one group